Greetings, Commanders. When we talk about defensive flying, we often refer to an Anti-Xeno Initiative challenge rank called the 100% Club. Such challenge rank entails defeating a forward basilisk while having your hull indicator always remain at a 100% value, which means that you can take very little damage. It is a fight that allows the use of premium ammunition and can be done in any ship, although doing so in a chieftain is the most typical approach. In an attempt to take defensive flying to the next level in a slightly different configuration, today's fight is a fight against a Hydra with the usage of basic ammunition only, with no hits allowed whatsoever, like not even a scratch, and it's a fight that's specifically going to do in a Krait Mk2. No-hit Hydra fights are rare. In fact, I believe you can count on the hands of one finger how many commanders have successfully pulled these off. Matter of fact, however, none of these fights have ever been done in a Krait Mk2 before, as they are typically performed in non-boost orbiters such as the Alliance Chieftain. Before getting into the build and into the fight, it's important to remember a few noteworthy changes that have been introduced in Update 15. Interceptors lose interest quickly if they can't heat detect you and if you don't damage them, which means that it's possible to reroll swarm formations to avoid the dreaded rings, which is especially great for Hydras. At the same time, however, it also means that flying around in a cold crate requires constantly tagging them to ensure that they don't just lose interest and wake out in the middle of a fight. Finally, interceptors no longer fire at you when your angular velocity relative to them exceeds their overall cannon gimbal. This doesn't make a big difference in practice overall, as in most of the time they wouldn't hit you anyway. However, it's a noteworthy distinction, as it'll appear that interceptors are just flying around you without firing at you, so long as you keep boost orbiting around them in a relatively tight spread. This doesn't save you when your orbits stall, and it doesn't prevent them from accidentally hitting you when turning around after rearm. Still, it's a notable change from how interceptors behaved before Update 15. As every general should know, first you want to win, and then you want to go to war, rather than first going to war and then trying to win. As a result, every difficult fight starts by having the proper build. In this case, a proper build means a Krait Mk2 which is equipped with 3 medium Guardian Gauss cannons instead of my personal favorite for general purpose of 2 medium and 2 smalls. The reason why I've chosen this build is that with the recent aggro changes that Fargoid interceptors have experienced since Update 15, you absolutely need a thermal vent beam laser if you're flying on a cold build like this Krait, in order to maintain the Fargoid interceptor's attention. If you don't periodically tag the interceptor will lose attention, turn away, and simply wake out, which is incredibly frustrating. But it's a state of the game we have right now, and consequently this is what we've got to work with. In addition to the 3 medium Gauss cannons and the beam laser, the Krait comes equipped with a remote release flak launcher. While it is possible to do a no-hit run in a flakless configuration exclusively by cutting the swarm, it is incredibly hard against a Hydra, and as a result, I have chosen to equip my old good trusty flak launcher. The utility slots are very simple. They come in 4 so-called Cirrus sinks, which are Cirrus heat sinks that come pre-engineered and that can be bought from materials, which have a benefit of being not as higher weight as the engineered version and having an additional sink, which comes in very handy. They are not strictly required for this fight, but they're a nice quality of life benefit. The internals run a very light Krait that can speed up to 557 meters per second, which I believe is the fastest the Krait can actually go, relying on lightweight alloys with heavy-duty armor, a low emissions power plant, thermal spread experimental, which means this build is extremely cold, dirty drive tuning drag drives, which are pretty standard, and a downside frameshift drive that gives me additional weight capacity while staying at maximum speed to equip additional Guardian hull reinforcement packages that I was maintaining just in case, but I didn't need them at all. So this downside may not even be required in practice. Life support is the usual lightweight. The power distributor is an interesting variation from the default version of Charge Enhanced. I am using a Krait with a weapon-focused power distributor, and the reason I'm using a Krait with a weapon-focused power distributor is because with 2 medium Gauss cannons on a single trigger, it will heat spike, and consequently you will get hit. which nullifies the attempt of doing a no-hit run. As a result, I had to switch to a weapon-focused power distributor, which, having a higher capacity, results in lower heat spikes net-net. The trade-off of having a weapon-focused power distributor is that its engine capacity and engine recharge is much, much, much lower than the charge-enhanced one. Consequently, you have to be a bit more careful when it comes to the boosts that you'll necessarily do in the Krait, which is a boost orbiter, as you cannot just simply boost freely all the time. As you will run out of distro capacity, your orbit will stall and you get hit. You'll need to time your boost with more care, paying more attention to use them when they count. The sensors are the standard long-range sensors, and the fuel tank is the standard capacity. You could have dropped this for additional HRPs to create additional buffer if you wanted to do just a 100% run instead of an entirely no-hit run. But again, this is purely an optional choice. When it comes to optional internals, I had jam-packed this with hull reinforcement packages in the original concept of simply doing a 100% run. As it turned out, I was able to do a no-hit run entirely, which means these hull reinforcement packages were not used at all. Nevertheless, they were as a buffer in case we wanted to do a sort of more traditional run, staying at 100% hull, while allowing some pot shots or simple hits from, for example, the swarm. I had packed AFMUs. I actually don't remember why I had packed AFMUs. They're absolutely useless on this build. You shouldn't have them, but they were here, and that's what the build I had. Will we succeed? Only one way to find out. Let's go! Debris field are my favorite instances of Sargoid interceptor combat. That's because the debris field itself can be used as a weapon against a swarm, in particular when the swarm is deploying. If you position the interceptor accurately at the middle of the debris field, it will accidentally collide with pieces of debris, and that will result in the first swarm that you have to fight being in a significantly shredded down version. That's particularly useful if you don't have flak at all, as you really have no way to deal with that swarm other than that, which I described. And it speeds up a little bit flak-full fights when you do have flak. Either way, it's fun to use the environment against your enemy. This is a fight I'll want to start conservatively, by tagging the Goid and moving away. First and foremost, I will want to deal with a swarm. You'll notice I deal with a swarm in this new way of essentially re-rolling the swarm until I can get anything other than a ring. Rings are extremely difficult to flak down and just take a much longer amount of time and a much longer amount of ammunition. It's much easier to let them re-roll into a cone or ball, and once you see them in that formation, you proceed to shoot them down. Once you do see them in that formation, what I try to do is I try to tag the Goid periodically so that the swarm doesn't fly away and change formation once again. So you'll see this weird pattern where I'm actually not looking at the swarm while the flak shot is flying towards it, and instead I'm busy tagging the Goid. This is unique since update 15 dropped. Once the swarm is down, it's time to engage the interceptor. As you'll see, I begin the orbit just as I would any normal orbit, by slowing down and letting the interceptor approach me at a moderately safe distance. I will then let it swing past me, and I will boost to initiate orbit, and I will relatively quickly counter boost to stabilize that orbit. So from there on out, I will use very sparse, selectively timed boosts to maintain range and to avoid the orbit stalling, taking good care of making sure that my engine power distributor, which is very small considering I'm using a weapon-focused power distributor, does not drain, and consequently I lose the ability to boost at potentially a critical moment. From here on out, it's just a matter of exerting and destroying those hearts. What follows is a quick showcase of the 8 hearts going down in succession. If you want to watch the full unedited raw footage of the fight, it's linked in the video description below. that's the first no-hit Hydra in a Krait Mk2. Let us know what your experience flying a Krait is in the comments below. And glory to mankind. Commander Mk2, over and out.
Landing successful. Solid approach. What can we do for you, Commander?